Okay, and we are live. Welcome to a special episode of All Things Xbox podcast. We have Logan back this week. Logan, how are you doing?
Doing good. Much happier, calmer day today than last Tuesday, that's for sure.
Good,
But
good.
I'm glad to be back and discuss all the wonderful news that's been happening in the last week.
Yeah, it's been a good week for gaming news, and for people joining now and watching later, it says 100 games in the title. That isn't clickbait. We're going to go over 100 games. So it's going to be a fun time. It's been a fun week outside of Logan's tornadoes. Lots of gaming news, lots of gaming showcases. Like literally, we have to go over 4 gaming showcases, and I even missed the PC showcase. So we'll probably go over that next week if there was out interested announced there. But so many games to go over. Before we get into that, and typically we have in between 12 to 17 topics per podcast. But considering we have so many games over the showcases to go over, it's going to be around 9. And let's say most of them are just showcase stuff. But before we get into all that stuff, Logan, what have you been playing this week?
I've been playing the spray paint simulator. Been really enjoying it. It's very much a power wash sim, but instead of cleaning the things, you're coloring the things basically.
Yeah.
But they add some like levels to it that are different than Power Wash that make it a little bit more complicated. Like you can like in Power Wash you can buy different sprayers and then different nodules to attach or like different cleaners and stuff. But then this one, it's like you have to prep these places before you paint. So it's like you got to get the rolls of paper, you got to get the tape, you got to get like the filler if you're filling in like metal that needs to be patched. And then you got to apply all the stuff, remove the stuff that doesn't want to be painted that you need to go over. And then, like, go to the store, get the right paints for certain sections, and do it. And it's a lot of fun once I got the groove of it. And thankfully, they just had a new update today that adds saving to mid job
All good.
because it used to be where basically I had to leave it on quick resume. Otherwise, I lost my progress on a mission if I quit.
Oof.
So that was kind of a weird oversight. They didn't have that, but I'm glad it's there now. So yay for them. Patch one has saving, and they've made the cherry picker a lot easier to use now than it was at first. Like y'all have those over in the UK, right? Like those things like you get in it and it has like a basket and like a crane and
Oh
like
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
you go up and down to move down like trees or
yeah.
electric poles and stuff. Yeah, so like they made it easier to use now. So I've gotten decent way through that. Finished serial cleaner or finished the crime scene cleaner, which was fun. And I've been plowing through Expedition 33, and my goodness, like I'm right at about the very very end of Act 2. Like I'm taking my time with this.
Yeah.
Like I could have been done ages ago, but I've been going back and upgrading my characters and their weapons, making sure I look through every single nook and cranny, find all the colors of Lumina and like all the soundtracks, all the outfits. Like man, you know how in Final Fantasies there's always like one or two enemy types that just royally tick you off
Oh yeah.
and they become infamous? I hate these flippin' mimes so
Yep.
much.
Yep.
It's like and it's like it takes me, a half hour or whatever to beat this stupid mime, and what I get is a hat or a t-shirt. But you know what? I beat that mime and I'm glad he's gone. But yeah, just story is incredible. Like I don't remember how far you were in it.
I beat the
But
first Axon in Act 2.
okay, so yeah, you're still behind me then.
Yeah.
Okay. So I won't get spoilery, but yeah, like Act 2 is about to get really, really nuts because I'm right near the end. I'm at the monolith, so yeah, it's incredible. Like it's laughable how much of an ironclad grip this game has on Game of the Year for me.
Oh yeah.
And there's been some other really good games, and there are other really good games coming. But I'm telling you, it would take almost like it would take a monolithic, incredible like Half-Life 3 shadow drop kind of out of nowhere and living up to the expectation type game to win over this for me right now. And so yeah, I've been playing that and then just odds and ends, random stuff, mainly binging movies lately. Like I don't you've probably seen on my timeline, I've just been throwing
Oh
out
yeah.
random films.
Yeah.
I had a I had some out of town company over and crashed over for a few days, and they don't get to see a lot of movies. So whenever they're here, they're like, "Man, you got a killer library. Let's watch some movies." And so like I just binged through like 7 movies, 8 movies in a few days, and so yeah, just revisiting some classics. All in all, been a really good, happy week. Sports have been good. All in all, I'm really good, man. How about you? How's things in your neck of the woods?
It's been good. The wrestling has been pretty good, which I can say finally because it's been boring for the past few months. R-Truth returned. I know that name probably doesn't ring a bell to you, Logan, but a lot of people,
Not at all. I have
yeah,
no idea
yeah,
what that is.
but a lot of people are happy because this guy that everyone thought was fired, like legit fired, came back, and apparently he was brought back because of the fan uproar, which is really cool. I mean, that never happened back when I used to watch it because Twitter wasn't a thing. But yeah, that's been good. Video games have been good. I watch a film every single night. Like I watched Sinners last night. Uh, damn good film.
Oh, great film, I've
Yeah,
heard.
great film. Um, by the way, I went into that just hearing it's like I won't mention it to spoil it for people, but it's a particular genre that you wouldn't expect. Thoroughly enjoyed it. But yeah, before we get into what I've been playing, you mentioned how you were playing Expedition 33. We didn't get to speak to you last week because of the tornado thing. Without spoiling it, how much was your mind blown after Act 1?
Um, well, what let's just say I had basically the same reaction I did at a certain point in Final Fantasy VII, and I'll leave
Yeah,
it at that.
yeah. That
Um, I
that
had about that reaction. I saw this look in this person's face, and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
yeah,
I you don't even have to tell me. I know what's about to happen.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
it it yeah, it's incredible. The ending of Act 1 was just crazy, and it's like even though it's like you could see it coming in hindsight, it still was masterfully handled,
Oh yeah,
and the aftermath of that has been really well handled, and it just my goodness, like I can't speak highly enough of Sandfall. Like they have come out from nowhere to be like one of the premier story writing and game creating devs out there, and they're like a small, just brand new studio. Like they talk about making a killer first impression.
yeah. I mean, I have been playing more of that. I'm behind you, but I got stuck on 2 mimes. There was a double mime boss fight.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that one took me a while.
Yeah, and I actually worked out because like those characters are extremely easy to parry. Like the moves are predictable, they're easy to learn. They only have about 3 moves. Well,
Hmm.
I worked out after fighting these things for about 30 minutes. I worked out that to finish this fight would take around 6 hours,
Yeah,
and I was like, "Screw this." I loaded my last save, and I was like, I'll get back to this in a week or so." But like, way too many games. Like Game Pass, chill, right? I'm on the last quarter of Avowed. I should be finishing that soon. I'm playing a lot of Warzone with one of my friends. Warzone is addictive, ridiculously addictive. I've decided to put Oblivion off till I've worked through some of my backlog because Oblivion it isn't going anywhere, and it's like a 300-hour long game, right? I think I'll be fine. Um, and I have been playing Final Fantasy 16. Shocker. We'll be talking about that in a bit. And actually, I'll give my impression of that game later in the show. But it's been a hell of a week for gaming. Like, not just the games announced, which, again, we have to go over 100 of them. Just the variety that's around. I love the fact that there's, like, shooters coming out all the time. Just, I don't know. Like, I feel like now more than ever, there's more genres coming out, or like more variety in different genres, if that makes sense. Um, it's hard to keep up.
Yeah, there is.
It's hard to keep up because there's a new Game Pass game basically announced every other day, which doesn't help the backlog. I mean, I just checked. Crash Bandicoot 4 just arrived in Game Pass, right?
Finally, it's about time. Pun intended, but it's about time.
Yeah, and like, Tony Hawk that launches in Game Pass next month. Rematch, which looks really cool. There's too many games, and it's a good problem to have. I get it, but some people joke like, "Oh, Jamie, you don't finish games." Like, they are half right. It's hard to finish games when I've got like 8 going on at any given time, and then games shadow dropped over the weekend, and then expansions dropped over the weekend, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. If anything, the only way I can make my way through these games is if somehow I can clone myself, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon. But it's been a great week for gaming.
Pretend it's Mass Effect.
Yeah, oh my god. And the thing is, in the back of my mind, I've got that little person saying, Jamie, fire up Mass Effect. I haven't played it in, 3 years? It's been a while. The longest time I've gone without playing it. I want to replay Cyberpunk 2077. I want to replay Red Dead Redemption 2, but I can put that off because apparently it's getting a next generation upgrade, which is fine. You haven't played that yet, right, Logan?
No, I still have not played 2. I haven't been in a cowboy and Indians kind of frame of mind, but I know it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's damn good. But like, I'm looking in the Game Pass store right now, and it's like there's too many games coming out. Like Metaphor v Fantasio, that's also on Game Pass. I still need to finish that. Division 2, I want to play that game. I played the first game briefly, but like, there's just, oh yeah, Doom the Dark Ages. How the hell did I not remember this? I've been playing Doom the Dark Ages. That game is phenomenal. While I do think, Expedition 33, that's going to clear house at the award season. It's probably going to be my game of the year. Doom the Dark Ages is probably going to be a close second. It is so good. You did fire up Doom, yeah?
I actually haven't yet. Like, it's funny. Is like my backlog got to be like, I make jokes about it being the Library of Alexandria all the time, but like, basically it got to such a point to where it's like I made rules for myself to where it's like, you will sit down and you will finish this game before you move on to a different one. Unless it's like a smaller title you can juggle with a bigger one. So I am all in on finishing Expedition 33, and then I will jump to something like a Doom. But I do want to play it. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to fly around on a neon winged dragon, shooting shards of skulls at people and whacking people with a chainsaw shield, all while death metal is screaming in the background. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, one of the big things I took away from Doom the Dark Ages is that, Doom 2016 was very much circle strafe around enemies, collect a key, open the door, do the same thing, rinse and repeat. Then Doom Eternal was more about platforming in between those sections. But this game, it adds a whole other level, another element of collectibles. The collectibles are actually worth getting in this game because they act as currency a lot of the time, and you can buy things such as upgrades for your weapons and shield. So you're encouraged to find them. And the other thing that helps that is that all the collectibles are labeled on the map. So,
Oh, that's helpful.
yeah, that is, honestly, I know some people like, to find things themselves. Screw that, right? Label that stuff on maps because it has been a godsend. Like, even currency is labeled on the map. So if you go through a section that says you've got like 200 gold left to get in that level, you can walk back and try and find that stuff because it's labeled on the map. It is so good. I know some people might say, "Oh, it makes the game easier." I don't care. I want that quality of life feature in basically everything because collectibles is something I kind of not do in a lot of games because I think they're kind of annoying a lot of the time. But in this, you really encouraged. The dragon stuff is fun. The giant mech stuff is fun. There's a weapon. There's a weapon in Doom: The Dark Ages, which I don't think was in any of the trailers, and basically it's a it's basically a cannon. It fires this cannonball on a chain, and then you retract it and fire it at other enemies. Right? It
That
takes up
sounds fun.
Yeah, it takes up ammo, which doesn't make sense, but it's so much fun. The fact that you can switch weapon types on the fly, so you can use the combat shotgun and then press X because you don't reload in the game. You press X and you basically switch to the double barreled shotgun. So you have the basic weapon wheel, which you've had in previous Doom games, but rather than having like 50 weapons on a wheel, you basically pick the weapon type. So you can either use the plasma pistol or the plasma rifle. You can either use the skull muncher or whatever you get after that. But it's a good way to do the weapon system in a Doom game. And honestly, I think so far it has to be the best Doom game to date. It's so much fun. Now, oh my god, literally in the title it says 100 video games. I'm not joking. So it's going to be a bit of a pain to go through all these, but it's in the title. I'm going to do it. Let's see what we've got first. You know what? Logan, did you get to watch the State of Play stuff? Because there were actually some games there that will be coming to Xbox.
I didn't watch it live. I basically caught some recaps of it. But one of the biggest ones I was excited about was seeing that Pragmata actually still exists.
Yep.
Like, I kind of figured it did, but seeing it officially made me really glad because I thought the initial reveal was cool, but it was also kind of like, okay, what is this? And then, like, there's all these years of silence, and then they reveal it again, and it looks really cool. So that was one of the standouts for me.
Yeah, I thought it was actually a pretty good show. Like, I know I know a lot of people like to meme on this stuff, but honestly, all these showcases now, they all have multi-platform games. Like, hell, Assassin's Creed Mirage had its gameplay debuted, and I will always praise that game. Its gameplay debuted at a State of Play, right? Alan Wake 2 gameplay, it was a State of Play game. So I'm good with all this stuff. So yeah, Pragmata still exists. Thankfully, it was announced 5 years ago, with a really cool CGI trailer, and then nothing happened, and then we got gameplay, and if I remember correctly, I think it was 12 seconds of gameplay 4 years ago, and absolutely nothing since. Capcom has had multiple showcases since, nothing. And yeah, this showed up, brand new gameplay. It actually looks a lot better than it did 2 years ago. So it's a weird game because you play as this space marine type dude, and you have this what I assume is little girl that can interact with AI, or she is an AI. We don't know. Let's be honest. No one can get anything from that trailer. It's all over the place, but that's what makes it cool. But that's coming in 2026. Finally. It's a third-person action game. Looks really cool. Silent Hill F got some brand new gameplay. Super gory game. As far as I know, it's the first Silent Hill game that isn't set in Silent Hill. This is set in a real town in Japan. And the interesting thing about this game is there's no guns. The game only has melee weapons. So
it's gonna be brutal.
yeah, it's going to be brutal. And as I've said in the past, I'm a scaredy cat when it comes to horror games. So that's probably going to be another 30 or 40-hour game for me. But it'll be worth it. Bloodstained: The Scarlet Engagement. People haven't played the first game, which was Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night. That game, it's basically Castlevania, made by the developers of Castlevania, and this is more Castlevania. What can you go wrong with that? And that's also coming out in 2026. Next up, they show Digimon Storytime Stranger. What a weird name. That's coming out in October this year. It's going to be the first major Digimon JRPG on an Xbox since the OG Xbox. Digimon wasn't really big in the UK, But I used to watch the cartoon as a kid, and even though it was a Pokemon rip off then, I don't really care. It's a Pokemon rip off now, and I still don't care. I'm getting this game. It looks fantastic. It basically looks like Persona, but with creatures you collect. You can't really go wrong with that. Logan, what do you think of that? Because again, it's the first major Digimon game on Xbox in decades.
Yeah, I'm always for more of these coming to the platform, and I remember Digimon growing up. I was a Pokemon guy personally, but I did enjoy the Digimon cartoon, especially like the movie. Like I can't remember which one it was, but I had one of them on VHS. Like that's how old it was. But I really like it, and I'm glad more of these things are finally coming over to Xbox, which is a theme of the show today. Is missing things appear on Xbox after long absence.
Yeah. So yeah, Digimon looks great. Before I continue with this list, I have to read this reply, this comment by Evil Fu Guru who's also on Twitter. Great guy. He wrote, "Sounds like Silent Hill F is going to be a London street sim. Get your knives out, boys." I mean, that's not too far off. I mean, if you've been to London, it's pretty close. Not gonna lie.
Don't walk alone.
Seriously, never. Um, yeah, let's see what we've got next. Oh yeah, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. That's it's a side-scrolling Metroidvania type game. It looks really cool. I mean, it's a big year for Ninja Gaiden. 3 games, 1 year. You have the remake of 2 Black. 4's coming out in October, and then you have this, which I think that also comes out in August. Next up, they showed off Final Fantasy Tactics. I'm going to butcher this name so badly. Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ilvalis Chronicles. That is not how you pronounce it at all. But that's coming out in September. It's finally coming to Xbox. I know a lot of people have been wanting Final Fantasy Tactics to come back in general. If I remember correctly, I may have played this on the Game Boy Advance. But a lot of people have been wanting this. And the funny thing is, we all did the thing that everyone does with these game showcases. This was announced on the PlayStation show. People went to Twitter to see if Square Enix had posted their own version of the trailer, to see those logos at the end. And what do you know? The Xbox logo was there. So a lot of people were happy with that. Logan, I think you were pretty surprised to see this as well, right?
Yeah, I was very, very happy. Like I had a feeling it was gonna happen because Jason Schreier, who love him, hate him, whatever. He's very, very accurate on his leaks and predictions and things.
Yeah.
And he had randomly started talking about Final Fantasy Tactics remaster in a near future, and then lo and behold, like 2 days later, it's at the PlayStation Showcase. And yeah, I remember it on the PS1 and the Game Boy Advance. Like this is definitely an oldie but a goodie, and I'm really excited to play it remastered. Looks much better, and it's just fun story. Like with this and some other announcements we'll get into later, Xbox has now become the place to play for all the Final Fantasy games. How fun is that?
Yeah. So like I know Jez Corden brought this up on Twitter, and he got some flack for it, but literally the only numbered Final Fantasy game you can't play on Xbox is 11, and you can't really play that on any modern console. Like it's an old, MMO. Funny enough, it still gets some support, but like literally everything else. Like there are the occasional spin-off game I would like to come to console, like Crystal Chronicles from the GameCube. I would love that to
Oh,
come.
I remember that
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
that was a good game. I would love that to come to Xbox at some point. But yeah, it's weird because like on Xbox, you can have groups.
Hmm.
People use them as folders. I literally have 2 groups on Xbox, and one's for Star Wars games because there's so many, and I have another one for Final Fantasy games. And there's literally so many to choose from. But hey, we'll be getting to that in a bit. Oh yeah, and the last game they showed off at the Sony State of Play that's coming to Xbox is 007 First Light. Let me tell you, I was so happy to see this game in action because it was actually announced about 3 or 4 years ago by a social media post at IO Interactive, and nothing since. We get that logo about 2 months ago at the Nintendo showcase, and they didn't actually say they were going to show it off soon, but they showed off gameplay. It looks super cool. James Bond has the scar, which he does in the original books. I saw some people didn't like the fact it was set in modern day. I completely get that. However, I don't really care at the same time. I love the the Daniel Craig films, the Pierce Brosnan movies. Like, I'm okay with a modern setting Bond as long as it's fun, right? Like, my favorite Bond film is actually Skyfall, and that is a very serious film. But I'm happy with what I saw. Third person shooting. It's obviously got that very like cinematic style you have with the Hitman games. There's like over the shoulder takedowns, cover takedowns. I saw someone comment that it looked more like Jason Bourne. But honestly, I don't care. Like, they could label it Jason Bourne, the video game, and I'd still get it. It looks so good in action.
I'd play.
Yeah, it looks so good in action. I think like we haven't had a James Bond video game since 007 Bloodstone by Activision. And I think that was 2012 or 2011. So it's been a very long time. Very long time. And the James Bond game we had before that was Quantum of Solace by Activision. And fun fact about that game, that was one of those games where it was super easy to get 1,000 gamer score. So literally, one of my friends bought a copy, and it was just passed around all of us to get easy achievements. Like, it was one of those games. But underrated game, I will say that. The Quantum of Solace video game was way better than the movie. That movie, terrible, absolutely terrible. But yeah, this new Bond game, it looks great. There's gadgets, there's car chases, and it comes out in 2026. I honestly don't care. It comes out whenever. Finally, a new AAA Bond game. It took way too long for it to happen, but hey, it looks great. Logan, what do you think? Because Bond games don't come along often, and like me, you're a fan of like the GameCube and like N64 games, like Nightfire, GoldenEye, all that stuff. This looks really good.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Like, when I first heard IO was getting the rights to do a Bond game, I was really excited, but I was also kind of a little tepid about it in a way because I was like, as good as Hitman is, I didn't want it to just be a Bond skin on Hitman, which, it would still be fun. But it seems clear like they're going for the vibe, the theme, like that they're well versed in Bond lore and aesthetic, and it seems like they're a perfect fit. I'm looking forward to playing it, and like you said, like I wish that a Night Dive or a Digital Eclipse, somebody could get the rights and spin up some ports or remasters of like Nightfire, Double Agent, Bloodstone, some of those other older Bond games. Like I even remember the one where From Russia with Love, like with
Yeah.
Sean Connery literally. So it just they were so cool, and it was from a kind of a simpler time, but there's just something fun about using a laser watch or setting up some laptop turret or randomly just attacking the people in the bathroom and changing clothes to get through different missions like you did in what Perfect Dark. Just it was a different era, and I kind of wish we could bring those back, but I'm glad that they're doing it, and it looks like they'll do it right.
Yeah. I mean, they showed off the gadgets straight away with the laser watch and all that stuff. One of the coolest things about the older Bond games was like getting your way through doors using the laser watch. Like sometimes you had to take the hinges off doors or like an air vent or something. Hopefully it has stuff like that, but they have a top tier studio making this. I will say this: one of the game shows we won't be going over was the IO Interactive Showcase. It was possibly one of the worst showcases I've ever seen in my entire life.
I didn't even know that one happened.
Exactly. No one knows, right? So they held they held their showcase around 3 hours after Summer Games Fest, and they
Everybody's asleep.
yeah, they had the live stream going on, and it had like an hour long countdown. Someone on their end obviously messed up the stream and ended it early, so they had to fire up a new stream, and everything went wrong. They had this tiny little room filled with journalists. They had this poor presenter. She was trying her best, but the teleprompter was clearly being hit by a stage light, so she had to keep leaning forward and squinting to read it. And oh god, it was so bad. And oh yeah, Mads Mikkelsen is like in the new Hitman expansion. It's free. You can play it right now. You don't actually have to own Hitman, World of Assassination to play it. It's completely free. And if you play that between the 6th of June and the 6th of July, you get some cosmetics for the Bond video game. But they showed off the entire mission. Like, they spoiled an entire Hitman mission because, that's what they had to show. They showed off the James Bond trailer. Again, it wasn't new footage. It was the same trailer we saw. And they also showed off Hitman running on a mobile phone. Like, honestly, like, look, I get we're in a point in time where these mobile phones, they're super powerful. They can run, like, AAA video games. But of all games, do you really want to play a Hitman game on a phone with your fingers? Not really. Let's be honest, right? I've played Forza on my phone. I've played Fortnite on my phone with a controller. I can't even imagine what it's like to play Hitman on a touchscreen. But they tried. Maybe they'll get it better next time. But yeah, so that's all the games that was at the PlayStation Showcase. Honestly, I thought they had a good show. I know people were playing hell afterwards, but, there was some cool games there. People wanted Final Fantasy Tactics to come back for bloody years. We had ports of other games, so why not that one? But hey, we got a new Bond teaser. I'm happy. Let's see what else we've got. Again, we still have 90 games to go over.
Did you manage to see the Wholesome Games one? Because I missed that one.
No, I missed that one.
I heard it. Okay.
I think when it comes to like the PC game show and the Wholesome thing, I'll watch them and then we'll go over the games that's coming to Xbox there next week. As far as I know, there wasn't really anything like huge there. You know what? We will go over the what do you call it? Let's see where this is. Future Game Showcase first, and then Summer Games Fest, because there was one game that mainly stuck out at Future Game Show, and I'm guessing, Logan, you didn't watch the Future Game Show.
I didn't watch it live. I caught up on some trailers though. Like apparently that it was a cluster cluck of a preview program thing where they showed off they had trouble with the stream, and so later on their Twitter account made a thread of all the trailers and said, "Here you go."
Yeah, they had some technical issues, but hey, it was fun. I'm gonna save the best game till last because, oh my god, people are gonna love this one. So there was a game shown off called Echoes of the End, which is, I believe that's a third-person fantasy RPG. Herdlin, which is one of those cutesy games. Sleep Awake, very weird-looking haunting game. The Finals is getting a brand new update. I still need to play that. People keep telling me it's a good multiplayer. But every time I see footage of the Finals, you can tell it's those people that they live to play multiplayer on a weekend, and they're sweating.
Oh, no lifers.
Yeah, no lifers. Like, I don't want to. Like, I play a Warzone casual mode, right? That's 150 players plus bots, right? And it's kind of relaxing. You do get the occasional sweater though. Next up, they showed off Eric. By the way, I've been following this game for the past 6 months. Nobody's talking about it because nobody's marketing it. Basically, I'll have to hype train this game for them. Basically, but it's called Eric's Home: The Stolen Dream, and this has to be one of the most beautiful photorealistic games I've ever seen, and nobody's talking about it. It's a isometric action adventure stealth game where the camera's up close to the camera. The characters are up close to the camera in cutscenes, like how you would with like a Hellblade or an Uncharted or anything like that. But the camera pans way out, and you have to sneak your way through sections and stuff. It's set in like a an alternate, I want to call it, industrial revolution time era. And it looks super cool, and it's coming out this year. If people haven't heard of it, just check out some screenshots. It looks beautiful. Next up, they showed off the Explorinator. If I remember correctly, this game's also launching on Game Pass. It's it's taken some artistic liberties when it comes to its first-person shooting stuff. Titan Quest 2 confirmed for Xbox. It looks really good. This was actually announced, I believe, 2 years ago. But people have been wanting a new Titan Quest game for like 20 years. It's finally coming, and it looks really good. And if people like Diablo, it's kind of like that, but without, making your hands bleed. Next up, we have, let's see, Call of the Elder Gods. This is a sequel to Call of the Sea, which launched around the Xbox Series X and S consoles. It's a
really good game.
Yeah, really good game. First-person adventure game with a bunch of puzzles and stuff, lots of mystery, really cool. If people want to check, it might still be in Game Pass. I'm not entirely sure.
I think it's on sale too right now.
Yeah, I think it's on sale as well. Next up, they showed off Lost Islanders, Veil of the Witch. For people that aren't familiar, the first game, Lost Islanders, is a... Oh, Logan, what's the name of that turn-based JRPG game that Nintendo makes?
Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem, thank you. It's basically Fire Emblem, but Game of Thrones. That's the best way to describe it.
Sounds awesome.
Really cool looking game. Firefighting simulator Ignite. By the way, these simulating games are huge on console now. Like all consoles and PC. Like there's a simulator.
I'm a junkie for them. I like them.
Yeah, there's simulator games for everything. There's even there's taxi simulator. There's truck driving simulator. I think European truck driving simulators come on Xbox as well. There's basically a simulator for everything. Pretty cool. But yeah, that's coming to Xbox as well. Formula Legends. This is a Formula 1 racing game where basically, rather than F1 2025, where you basically played the most hardcore racing game on the planet, this is working through time periods of different racing styles. So you're going back to the 20s when they had those like tiny thin cars on those like wooden race tracks and shit. I'm trying not to swear. Sorry. But it looks like a really cool racing game. Next up, they showed off How to Escape 2, Lost Submarine. If you played the first game, it's kind of like a puzzle escape game. This is just set in a submarine. Next up, they showed a new story trailer for Hell Is Us. The thing I will say about this game, the developers have gone out of their way for some reason to make it look like a Souls-like. It's not a Souls-like, but every bit of footage they show just happens to look like a Souls-like, and it puts some people off. I get that. Next up, they showed off Fade and Echo, which is a cool-looking indie game. Luto, which is a kind of a first-person horror experience. Linked the Banner Spark, Banner of the Spark. It looks like it's a cross between Zelda and Diablo. It looks really cool. If I remember correctly, it's coming out in 2 weeks' time. Next up, they showed off Directive 8020. This is a new game made by Supermassive Games, who basically excel at cinematic horror. This game's set in literally hundreds of years from now. It looks so good in action. I know, Logan, you're a fan of their games as well. Comes out in October.
Yeah, I'm a big junkie for their games. Like I love all these, and Until Dawn on the PS4, PS5, and then they just made the movie, and the also the Quarry, like the Dark Pictures anthology. They're all, for those who don't know, they're all connected, and they're all in a cinematic universe, and like you sometimes get little subtle teases to other ones in this universe. And then they also did Casting of Frank Stone, which is set in the Dead by Daylight universe, but it's like a Dark Pictures game. So definitely going to be getting this day one.
Yeah, like I played The Quarry, and it's probably one of the best cinematic horror games I've ever played. I also played Man of Medan. That game,
Yeah, that one's fun.
yeah, that game. It's like set in like an abandoned like old ship. Super cool horror game, and the fact that they set in the same universe, like that's a really cool developer. I want to see what they can do in the future. And plus, yeah, I've been wanting more sci-fi games, so I will happily take a cinematic horror from them. And it looks like with this new game, they're actually going to put more, third person gameplay in, because those games are basically walk to section, click A, cutscene. I think they've learned,
Run.
yeah, run, press LB to not die, that type of thing. But yeah, it looks super cool in action. Next up, they showed off Duck Detective. Now, the funny thing about this game is it was announced for PlayStation, and a lot of people in the chat were like, "Where's the Xbox version?" It's already on Xbox. So, yeah, I think Duck Detective's been on Xbox for like 6 months or something. Next up, they showed off Agatha Christie, Death of the Nile. This is the Death of the Nile storyline, but it's set in an alternate 70s timeline. It looks really cool. If you've seen the movie or familiar with the book, you know what you're getting into, but it's set in the 70s. Next up, they showed off House Flipper 2 with a Scooby-Doo expansion. I mean, that's another one of those simulator games. It's probably going to sell millions. They showed off a new story trailer for Mafia: The Old Country, which looks really good. I think 2K is doing something really well with this game, is that they're showing people directly what it is. It's a cinematic third-person action-adventure game. It's not open world, and it's not $70, right? It's $50. I have to praise them for this, because for the longest time we've both complained that too many developers would have their AAA game and just charge full price for it, right? Regardless of how long the game is or what kind of game it is. It has no multiplayer mode. It's not open world. It's not a long game. And they've been upfront about that, which I really appreciate. And this is Take-Two, right? Take-Two are pretty scummy, so the fact they're doing this, I will praise them for it. Next up, they showed off Crystal Theater of Idols. This is a really cool looking horror game. And Ritual Tides, which is another horror game. So, all in all, Future Game Show had a bunch of cool games. Indie games, horror games, bunch of horror games, that's sure. But the last game, I saved for last. Well, actually, it was the first game which I'm saving for last. And this is The Expanse. Now, The Expanse is probably one of the most... it's an S-tier sci-fi show. It really is. For me to go out of my way and say it's basically as good as Battlestar Galactica, right? That is high bloody praise, right? Battlestar Galactica for me is like the triple S tier sci-fi, albeit the fourth season's terrible, but like it's triple S sci-fi. The Expanse came out, they had a really good season, they were made by the Sci-Fi Channel, and Amazon bought them up. And you could tell overnight that when they came out with the following seasons, they basically had unlimited budget. Logan, can you remember the difference between CGI and the amount of CGI between that first season and the Amazon seasons?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It went from looking like the old school, like you remember growing up, sci-fi originals
Yeah.
films, like you have like the Minotaur or like Octopus or something, and it's just like this janky early 2000s CGI critter film. And but yeah, it was like that, and then it just so happens, for those who don't know the story, basically the show was on Netflix and this other thing for a little while, and then they ended it. And Jeff Bezos, who, is like the richest man on the face of the earth, he just happened to be a diehard fan of The Expanse, and he's like, no, we're not having this. And
Yeah.
he bought the rights, and he put it on Amazon, and he gave him a blank check, and he's like, go make this great. And they did, and it is, like Jamie said, S tier, right there with Battlestar Galactica, the one season of Firefly, like all the legendary sci-fi shows. It is incredible. If you haven't seen it, uh, you have plans this weekend now. You're going to watch The Expanse. It is so good.
Yeah. I never thought I'd say this, but God bless Jeff Bezos. Like,
Cheers!
like,
Right.
thank God for bringing that back and just giving them like an unlimited amount of money, because like those later seasons, like you have full on space battles that are like multiple minutes long. There's more CGI. There's bigger sets. There's more characters, and yeah, it's S tier sci-fi. So
It
anyway,
had Game of Thrones budget basically at
basically,
that point.
at the end of the day, it was basically Game of Thrones in space, because different fightings, different factions fighting for power and all that stuff. Um, but the Expanse Osiris Reborn was announced at Future Game Show, and this is a AAA, over the shoulder role playing game set in the Expanse universe, or the TV universe, and it's a third person shooter as well. So you have this developer that's making a AAA Expanse, let's call it Mass Effect game, right? Yeah, I'm there watching this live, salty. Well, I watched it just afterwards. A few people let me know about it. I think people know by now, like, tag Jamie if there's something sci-fi and looks kind of like Mass Effect. Yeah, I know.
It's your bat signal.
Yeah, basically, I know Pyro and chat, DM'd us like, "Have you seen this?" And like, "Oh my god, I have now." And it's basically Mass Effect, but the Expanse, and I'm there for it. I can't wait for it. There's already a collector's edition announced for it, which I'm tempted to get. But it looks fantastic. It really does. I think that if you're an Expanse fan, you're gonna have to get it. I think if you're a Mass Effect fan, you're really gonna have to pay attention to this. It's such a AAA looking game in the best way. It's like, I never thought the Expanse of all things would get a AAA game like this. Like, Logan, did you see that trailer?
I have not, but all I had to hear was AAA, Expanse, Mass Effect style, and I was there day one. Like, I don't even need to see the pictures. Like, I'm there day one.
Yeah.
It like Telltale just recently made that Expanse game that focused on Drummer, and it was really, really good as well. For those who like the Expanse, check it out. For those who are going to watch it this weekend, check it out because you'll like it after you watch the Expanse. But yeah, I'm super excited.
You know what? While we're talking live, I'll actually send you the link just so you can like maybe give it a skim, because like the last 20 seconds is gameplay, the rest is cutscene. Let's see, I'll send you it now. Just check your DM. Like, that is the link to the whole trailer, but the last 20 seconds of gameplay, and I'm so happy this exists. Like, even though I'm happy it exists, I will say this before we continue with the rest of the list. As a Star Trek fan, I'm salty. I really am. Star Trek has been around for decades, like half a century, and it is the most mismanaged IP on the planet, right? Paramount, they have their head up their own asses so much, right? They won't let people make AAA games unless they like sign off on everything, and nobody wants to make AAA Star Trek games, and I don't think many developers have the talent to actually do it right. And then you have The Expanse, which is, for all intents and purposes, we can call it a newer IP. I'm doing air quotes. It's getting an RPG, a AAA modern RPG, before Star Trek. What the hell's going on? So like, while I'm happy for The Expanse, I love The Expanse. Obviously, I'm there day one, regardless. As a Star Trek fan as well, I'm really salty because it's 2025 and we still don't have any AAA modern Star Trek games. Like, who at Paramount is not letting these things happen? I don't know. But again, Star Trek has been mismanaged for decades, and it actively makes me angry. Just putting it out there. But yeah, if people haven't checked it out yet, Osiris Reborn, The Expanse, it's probably one of the best looking games I've seen it this past weekend. It looks so good in action. Third person.
That's a killer debut trailer, let me tell you.
Yeah, that looks so good. And, it takes place during the events of the TV show. So it's also encouraging people to go back and watch it. And, yeah, AAA game. Who would have thought? Again, I'm happy and I'm salty at the same time. Because, again, Star Trek doesn't get anything like this. Star Wars games, you're going to get AAA Star Wars games all the time, right? But Star Trek, none. None. But the Expanse gets one. Yes, I'm salty. But yeah, that's Summer Games Fest. um, yeah, I, I might do like an individual podcast at some point, like talking about TV shows and movies, because man, I'm so angry about Star Trek as an IP. You know, I could talk for hours about it, but like Paramount literally have no idea what they're doing. You know, Star Wars has been relevant in the like everyone's eye for decades. Why? Because you've had video games, you've had books, you've had comics, and like Star Trek, they went over 10 years without a TV show, and then they had the Kelvin timeline movies. And by the way, I do like them. I like the Kelvin timeline. But they're just so mismanaged. They have no idea what to do, and they keep hiring writers that don't know Star Trek. Oh my god, this is a gaming podcast, not Star Trek. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's see. Okay, Summer Games Fest, the showcase. Not gonna lie, I give Jeff Keighley a lot of flack, mainly because he deserves it a lot of the time. But still, I give him a lot of flack. However, this show I think was pretty enjoyable. You know, there's a bunch of games, if I remember correctly. 32 of these games were announced for Xbox. Basically something for everyone. So I'll go through these games quick. Logan, did you get through that trailer? What do you think?
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Great first trailer. After watching it, I realized I had seen it already. Like I don't know, I had glitched out and seen so many different trailers recently. I was getting them confused, but I had seen it before. It's really good trailer. Looks like they have it down to a T what it means to be in the expanse, and I can't wait for it.
Yep. No release date, but I'm just going to assume this is going to be one of those games that they either waiting to see what the holiday schedule looks like. Because again, October and November, there's still a lot of time for people to put out release dates. You know, now that there's no Grand Theft Auto, so I think between now and like Gamescom, you're going to see a lot of developers all of a sudden put out release dates. Hopefully, this is one of them because I don't want to wait till next year. Anyway, so Jeff Keighley's showcase, presented by Jeff Keighley, hosted by Jeff Keighley, starring Jeff Keighley, wrote by Jeff Keighley. Everything in life is about
Sponsored by Jeff
yeah,
Keighley.
sponsored by Jeff Keighley and Hideo Kojima. There were some good games here. So they opened up with Mortal Shell 2, which comes out in 2026. I basically guessed this game about within 2 frames of seeing it, just because it's the same main character basically. But if you liked Mortal Shell, the first game, you're gonna like this. It's a Souls-like, where rather than get armor in the game, you basically use shells, which I want to kind of I want to say that you manifest other people's bodies. That's the best way I can describe it. Shells are basically creatures that are mixed with armor. It's a weird one, but if you like Mortal Shell, you're gonna like this. In fact, it might be in Game Pass, the first game. People might have to check.
I know it's a cloud game too.
Yeah. Next up, they showed off Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, which launches in September. It's a Sonic Racing game, and it looks really good. The funny thing about this game is it's a lot cheaper than Mario Kart, and it looks about 2 generations ahead. I do think Mario Kart looks good, but Sonic Racing, like the stuff they're doing in the levels, it looks crazy. They also said that it's going to get a season pass afterwards, so it's going to have different tracks and different characters. The first pack is going to be Minecraft featuring Steve. Honestly, it looks great. Like, it's Sonic Racing. I will say this. It's crazy how Mario Kart is the best racing game when it comes to kart races. Like, that will sell, like, 80 million copies. And anyone else who makes a kart racer, it sells nowhere near that. Because Sonic's, like, a well-known IP. It's been around since before I was born. You know, but, like, a kart racing game doesn't... Like, Logan, do you have any theory as to why no kart game, like, does anywhere near Mario? Like, Mario does tend to play the best, but yeah, these Sonic games, they are fun, but they're never going to do Mario numbers.
I think just kind of mind share in general. And like Mario Kart was really the first to like really like hit it home. Like I remember there was a Mario Kart, I think on the Super Nintendo, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, like
yeah,
as the first one. And then obviously Mario Kart 64, like a lot of us our age cut our teeth on that and had so much fun on that one. Rainbow Road and all those, and then the GameCube with Double Dash. Like every entry added like new innovations, and then a whole bunch of characters, and then also customizations to your vehicles to like tweak the weights or the grips or the acceleration, and then all the items, the layouts, like the music. It just has a very powerful and good solid vibe that you like. You're playing Mario Kart, you know exactly what you're in for, and then the next one's going to be even better. So like my guess is like it was here first, and they haven't had like a drop in quality.
yeah.
Like they've all been at least good. Like I even remember the DS one, which was kind of a little tricky with the two screen play and stuff, but it was still fun. So to me, it's that, and then like you know, uh, Diddy Kong Racing, I think was like a really good like equivalent or kind of competitor at one point. But once Rare became part of Xbox, that went bye bye. There's like there's no more Diddy Kong Racing. And I think, frankly, I think that franchise might be dead for other reasons now, mainly the name. But, um, but yeah, like, and then Crash Racing is
Yeah.
really well done. I like it a lot. I think that Microsoft should go all in and try to make it their Mario Kart tentpole. Like, I think there is a way to compete with Mario Kart, but I think the way to do it is, put all your franchise characters in it, make it like your mascot racer, innovate a little bit, and story mode, all this other stuff, and then really highlight the Game Pass aspect and the accessibility, because Nintendos are for the most part more cost affordable, like lower entry rate for age appropriateness, like a bunch of factors that some other racers don't have, and the iconic characters. So if you really do that and put it in Game Pass, so many people can have access to it immediately, play it with friends, family. I think it could be a competitor to Mario Kart, but they'd really have to actually do it.
Yeah. But it is interesting to see that they are going to do like third party games for expansions. Like Minecraft was like something I didn't expect. I am aware I'm grasping at straws with what I'm about to say, but if Sega can work some sort of like deal with like EA for a Mass Effect level, like I'm really needing something Mass Effect. Like that's how desperate I am.
This is your favorite track on the Citadel.
Yeah. Oh my God. They could do a track on the Citadel. It'd be amazing. But again, that's how desperate I am. I'm waiting for Sonic to announce a Mass Effect level in a racing game. That's kind of pathetic. But anyway, we'll move on. For people joining the show live, hope you're enjoying it. Please share it out. It really does help the channel and help the podcast grow. Liking does help with the algorithm stuff. I hate doing these little ads, but I kind of have to. If you want to support the channel with super chats, it's greatly appreciated. I'll answer anything or whatever you want. It all gets put back into the channel. Anyway, and for people that are wondering, and I get asked every time this game's shown, if you're wondering what the space game is with the truck, during gameplay, that is literally called Star Trucker. It is a game where you play as a truck driver in space, and it is
Self-explanatory.
yeah, and it's weirdly relaxing. Weirdly relaxing. It's in Game Pass right now. You manage your truck, you repair it, you upgrade it over time. There's different missions where you're talking to people and you have to smuggle cargo and stuff. It's really good. It's really good. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, we'll move on. Okay, next up they showed off Code Vein 2. Again, I guessed what this was with like the first two frames. Right? It was anime and it was vampires, right? And it was Bandai Namco. Blatantly Code Vein 2. But it looks really good. Looks like the gameplay is faster than the first game, because the first game, don't get me wrong, good gameplay, but this is leagues faster. Which looks really good. That's coming out in 2026. End of the Abyss, if I remember correctly. This is also a horror game, or oh no, sorry, this is a side-scrolling like horror type game, which looks really cool. They showed off a new trailer for Mouse PI for Hire. This game was announced like 4 years ago, before Disney lost the public domain, the original Mickey Mouse. So now they can use it. It looks really cool. It's in the like wee old like cartoon style of like the 1920s. It looks so good. It's a first-person shooter. It kind of has BioShock vibes at the same time. Some people say it's like, it's like Cuphead. In a way it is, but it looks really cool. Still no release date, but hopefully it does make it this year. They showed off Atomic Heart 2. I was so happy to see this, because that first game, it got a lot of flack online, because, it did have some performance issues at launch. It did have broken achievements at launch. I loved that first game. It's basically Russian BioShock. But I'm so happy to see that there's a sequel announced. Now, I've been asked this a bunch of times on Twitter, and I'll mention it here. In the trailer, they say PC and consoles at the end. And I think the reason why... Okay, I don't know why Siri's going off on my phone. Shut up. But I think the reason they didn't clarify which consoles is because Atomic Heart 1 launched on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 as well, and the performance was really bad. And across the board, they had issues. So I think that they're just going to wait till they can narrow down which consoles they're going to launch on, because I still think that might slip into a next generation type thing. So maybe I think this is a good idea that Atomic Heart, they're waiting just to have it optimized this time. Maybe they want to put it on the Switch too, or see if they can put it on the Switch too. And on the official Xbox YouTube channel last night, the Atomic Heart 2 trailer went up, and at the end it said PC Xbox. Xbox PC, the new labeling. So the way I see it, they're just going to optimize first. And if you played the first game launch day, you know what I'm talking about. it had pretty bad performance that day. Logan, did you see this trailer? Did you even play the first game?
I actually have yet to play through the first one. I bought the gold edition on sale. It's on sale, I think, right now.
Yeah.
As well, and it's also a cloud title. Got the expansions and everything. It looks incredible, and judging from the trailer for the second one and the reaction online, it seems that they knew what their audience was wanting or
Yep.
thirsting for.
Yep.
So, if you like robots and you like waifus, boy, do I have a game for you.
Yeah.
It looks wild.
I mean,
But even aside from all that, like gameplay wise, looks incredible. The gunplay looks crisp. I love the whole idea of Soviet dystopian BioShock, and like they're gonna have more RPG elements this time than they did the first one. More decisions mattering. So very, very excited for this one, and this is near the top of my most anticipated. It looks super cool, and the MMO doesn't look half bad either.
yeah. I mean, putting in choices, making it more of an RPG, because you could level up things in the first game, but it was, it was a BioShock game, and it was a first-person shooter. I think them leaning into the RPG thing is really going to pay off. Like you said, they are putting the robots back in that people liked. Will they put in the vending machine that people saw clips of? Wild. It was like a vending machine / fridge that would upgrade your weapons and other things. Again, as you can tell, I'm trying not to get demonetized, but there's a fridge type thing in the first game that people liked. But this game looks nuts, and they immediately announced The Cube, right? And this is a new MMO set in the Atomic Heart universe, and the whole game is set on this giant floating cube, where basically it rotates like a Rubik's Cube. So the landscape you're on is going to change all the time. And I complain about AAA gaming being the same over and over and over again, but that is so original, right? And you know that the flat earthers are going to have a field day with that game. Because they have six flat sides to talk about. But I think this game, it looks fantastic. It was labeled as PC and consoles as well. I think it's going to be the same situation. It's the same engine. It's Unreal Engine 5. Just let them optimize the bloody thing. I saw some comments that, you know, it being an MMO turns them off. I wouldn't really let people, you know, I wouldn't let that turn people off, because a lot of games get called MMOs even though they're not. You know, Destiny 2 is labeled as an MMO. It's not an MMO. The Division 2 is labeled as an MMO. It's not. It really isn't. You have 8 dudes in the same area. It's not an MMO. But it has the same gameplay. There's wall running in this game, which looks really cool. I think that if you like Atomic Heart, you're going to want to play this. And neither game had a release date, so more like when it's ready type thing. But it looks so crazy in action. You know, I just want more Atomic Heart, and we're getting 2 games, and we have a third technically, which we'll be talking about in a bit. Anyway, we'll move on. You know, next up, they announced Onimusha Wave the Sword, brand new trailer with new gameplay. It already looked good when they debuted it months ago. It looks even better now with better performance. They showed off a new trailer for Arc Raiders with a release date, and the release date kind of upset some people because the rumor for the past month and a half was that Arc Raiders was dropping in June as a shadow drop. That's not the case. It's launch in October. Let them, you know, fix the game, the problems people had, the optimization. They still need to optimize it more for consoles. But from what people played, they loved it. I think this is going to be the extraction game that makes extraction games big on console, because, you know, on PC you have Tarkov. You're not going to play anything else other than Tarkov if you have Tarkov. But on console, I think Arc Raiders is going to be it. Next up, they showed off a brand new trailer for Chrono Odyssey. This is a brand new Unreal Engine 5 MMO in a fantasy universe. It looks really good. I've had my gripes with certain Unreal Engine 5 MMOs that came out over the past few years, but this looks really good, and it's probably going to be free to play, so why not? Next up, they showed off Mio Memories in Orbit. It's this cool looking like platforming type game. Next up, they showed off Marvel's Cosmic Invasion, which is a shmup-style game, much like that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge game. Same developers. That's also coming out this year, I believe. They showed off a brand new trailer for Mafia: The Old Country. This is more of a story trailer, which kind of connects the story between the first and the second game. Next up, they showed off Lego Voyages, which is a co-op game set in a... I don't even know what to call it, because I don't think there's a genre name, but like Lego in the past several years, they've launched these sort of experimental type games where they use ray tracing to basically push how realistic they can make Lego look, and do these little tiny adventure games set in small, you know, levels. Well, this is a co-op game, and it looks really cool. And let's see if they had a release date. No release date. Next up, they showed off Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny. This looks like it's going to be basically Diablo, but with Nickelodeon characters. It looks pretty fun, not going to lie. Next up, they showed off Lies of P Overture with a shadow drop. Now, this expansion was originally announced for September. So, like, for them to shadow drop it months in advance, big surprise for people. And for people that didn't know, this new update, not just the expansion, but along with the main game, they've actually implemented difficulty modes into a Souls-like. So that made a lot of people angry. Now, as someone that I hype trained Lies of P for like a year before it came out, even before the whole Game Pass announcement thing. And when the game came out, I was so disappointed, because if you have a Souls-like where 90% of the combat is based around parrying, I'm immediately out.
Boy.
Yeah, I can't, unless the video game is called Dark Souls 1 or Elden Ring, I cannot parry to save my bloody life at all. But in Lies of P, I got maybe like 12 hours in or something, and I had to give up. I cannot parry in this game to save my life. And it looks like parrying, you have an extended window of time to parry in the new difficulty modes. So if you maybe thought that was a bit difficult like me, you can maybe go back, which is cool. And there is this argument online that having a difficulty mode in a Souls-like ruins the game. I'm not necessarily in that boat. I think Elden Ring, and like Logan played Elden Ring as well, I think Elden Ring was perfectly fair because you had so many different opportunities to level up in that open world. Whereas in something like Lies of P, it's very restricted. You have to play the same bit over and over and over again because that's how those games work to level up. But if you reach a point where you just cannot get past, you're going to be stuck and you're going to have to grind and grind and grind. And I think having difficulty modes in a linear game, it kind of removes that factor. So for me, I think it's fine. Maybe I'm biased because now I want to go back to it. But hey, it is what it is. Logan, what do you think about that? Because difficulty modes in Souls likes, it's a bit of a touchy subject, but I'm okay with it.
It's funny. It's like I've come around to it. Like originally, when I first heard the idea of people trying to add these difficulty modifiers and things to some of these games, I was like, really? Why are we trying to dumb down everything?
Yep. Yep.
Or trying to strip away what made it what it was. And then the more I thought about it, and some of the games I've played have been just insanely brutally difficult, to be honest. And I get through them and I beat them, but then like to me it's like there's a balance. Like there are some games it's like Halo, I always play on legendary, and I always have a solo run and a co-op run. And I love it. I love the gameplay of Legendary. It's and like there's a challenge and a thrill to it, and it feels like an accomplishment. But then there are some other games where it just some things just blatantly feel unfair. Like not even like okay, you just need to learn timing or this or this. They're just like the game's rigged against you almost like going to the state fair and trying to shoot on those rims that are crooked rims, and you're almost never going to win that game. It's stacked against your um the odds are not in your favor. But so now I'm like, sometimes you just want to play a game and experience the world and get a fun little power trip, fight these big monsters, this. So I'm actually all for it now. And I'm excited for this one because it's like a prequel DLC, basically, I think, Overture. So I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah, and for people that don't know, the new version has, even the base game has this as well, apparently, but two new difficulty modes, and what was the base difficulty before is just normal, and there's like two different ones now, which make the game slightly easier. Because Lies of P, I'm not gonna lie, that kicked my behind. I outside of the parrying system, there was some bosses I was just like, I just can't do this. It was like nails on a chalkboard. But hey, looks super cool and it's out now. Let's see. Next up, we have Jurassic World Evolution 3. If you like the past two, you're going to be liking this. There's more events that can happen in the game, more dinosaurs. It looks like they've listened to a lot of feedback from the first two games. Next up, they showed off Dying Light the Beast, which also comes out this year. That game looks fantastic. If I remember correctly, it comes out in August. And if you bought the Ultimate Edition of the second game, you actually get this game for free. I love Dying Light 1 and 2. I think they're phenomenal games, and this looks better than ever. You have Kyle Crane returning from the first game. He basically has superpowers where he can jump over rooftops and stuff. It's more Dying Light. Did you get to play the Dying Light games?
Yeah, I actually really like them, so I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it looks really good. Graphics better than ever. The From the onset, there's guns are back, which is a big issue with a lot of people in 2 because it's set 15 years after the apocalypse, and there's no guns left. They did change it in an update, but yeah, it looks like the best parts of Dying Light 1 and 2 put together in a brand new area. It looks so good. Let's see. Oh yeah, that comes. Oh yeah, it's August. Yep. Next up, they showed off Mixtape, which is a cool sort of narrative-driven adventure game. Still no release date, although if I remember correctly, that was announced to come in Game Pass as well. Next up, they showed off Tower and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree. This is sort of this action-adventure game in this whimsical world. They also showed off Scott Pilgrim EX. That's right, Scott Pilgrim is finally getting a sequel, which I never thought would happen. Not going to lie. Next up, they showed off Mind's Eye versus Hitman, or Mind's Eye X Hitman. So basically, if you bought Mind's Eye, which came out today, it's going to get Hitman content in a few months. Next up, they showed off Lego Party. As you can imagine, it's Mario Party, but with Lego characters. Nothing exactly wrong with that.
Yeah, Nintendo's lawyers are going to be busy this weekend
Yeah.
after all the showcase
Yeah.
teases.
I mean, when that Xbox show was going on and that little trailer came up with the creatures, I just thought, like, they're getting sued. But we'll get to that in a minute. Next up, they showed off a trailer for Wildgate. For people that don't know, it's basically Sea of Thieves in space. There's a beta test going on right now. If I remember correctly, the beta starts today and the game releases in July. It looks pretty cool, but if you like Sea of Thieves and you want a sci-fi game, and I'm going to try it because I'm desperate, maybe give that a go. Next up, they showed off a game, and I swear to God, I've been so hyped for this game for 5 years, and it's called Ill. I-double-L. And basically 5 years ago, this single person put out this trailer, and it's one of the most gritty, realistic first-person shooters I've ever seen, with lots of gore, dismemberment, and all this stuff. And a lot of people just thought it was like a tech demo. It was never going to be a thing, and if it did, it would only release on PCs. We finally got the confirmation that it is coming to consoles, and it looks better than ever. It looks so good. It looks like what you like from Resident Evil, but with just more gore in a first-person setting. It looks amazing. Logan, I know this was right up your alley because, again, it looks Resident Evil-ish, and it's gory as hell.
Oh yeah, this game was a show stealer for me. Like, I've been eagerly waiting an update on this title for a long time. When I first saw it, I'm like, man, this thing's sick, and it looks really cool. And then they show this trailer with gameplay and all the updates. It's being published by apparently Mundfish. Not only does Atomic Heart 1 and 2 and The Cube, they're also publishing things now. So
Yep.
they found the smaller studio and they're publishing this game. And they got brought in a bunch of Hollywood veterans who work on horror franchises and films. Like, there's a guy from Longlegs on there. And a few other recent horror titles. So these people know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. And yes, like, it looked like Dead Space 2 mixed with Resident Evil 7. Like, this game looks haunting, brutal, and frankly just downright nasty. Like, it is going to be gross, grimy, disgusting, like, just visceral, just gruesome. Like, it sounds incredible, and I'm looking forward to it. But I think the name Ill is perfect because you show this game to a normie who's not
Yeah.
used to this type of game, it'll probably make him feel ill. It
Yeah.
looks incredible, though.
Yeah, it looks so good. No release date, but I mean, it was first teased 5 years ago. They can take another 5 years for all I care. Actually, I'll take that back. I want it now. But still, like, it looks so good. Next up, they showed off Mecha Break, which is a PvPvE game. I hate that term, but it's you basically play as Gundams, and if people look at those robots and say they aren't Gundams, they're lying to themselves. Let's be honest. But that comes out on July 1st. So they haven't said anything about pricing because there's been some people throwing around free to play, or it might be a cheaper game. We don't know. We should find out in the next 2 weeks though. Next up, they showed off Infinitesimals. This is launching in 2026, and the best way I can describe it is it's a Bug's Life, but if those bugs had access to sci-fi technology. Honestly, it looks amazing. Like, I'll admit I'm a bit biased when it comes to this, but it looks super cool. You play as what looks to be a cricket that's also a space marine, I'm sold, right? It looks amazing. Logan, the trailer was brief, and clearly the frame rate on the trailer was running about 10 frames per second. What do you think of that? Because it was brief.
Yeah, it it looks really fun. It's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids mixed with Bugs Life mixed with Warhammer Space Marine. It
Yeah,
looks awesome.
yeah, it looks really good. No release date outside of 2026, but hopefully we see something on that soon. Next up, we got a new trailer for Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, launches in Game Pass next month. It looks great. Can't really say anything negative about it. Splitgate Battle Royale was announced with a shadow drop. That
Oh boy,
announcement,
was it announced.
yeah. If you're gonna announce a game, and if any developers listen to this, I know some have, like, you do not announce your game by tearing down other people's games. Like,
I
I know
don't
some,
like that generally.
yeah, like
Yeah.
if people, like, don't get me wrong, like, I get people getting sick of the same thing in the multiplayer landscape over and over again, but you cannot go out there and say, I'm sick of Call of Duty, and you announce a Warzone clone with 80 dollars skin packs. You can't do that. That is like the most hypocritical thing ever. And I know people complain about the hat he was wearing. Like, as a British guy, what he said on stage and what the game's like in real life is idiotic. Like, Call of Duty has had its issues in the past, but you get a cool campaign, you get a zombies mode, and they do change up the multiplayer now then. Like, Black Ops 6 multiplayer, people like it. Warzone, people enjoyed it more than ever. So coming out of the gate and crapping on Call of Duty and saying, oh, Halo's the same thing over and over again. By the way, I want Titanfall 3. Who bloody doesn't want Titanfall 3? But announcing the game that way, and he's actually arguing with people on Twitter, by the way, on the main Splitgate account. So, like, I think some developers, they literally have no media training whatsoever. At all.
He
Like,
apparently had an apology today, but I'm not sure how much that's really going to matter at this point.
I'll check after the show's finished, but man, that is just not the way to go about it. And the Splitgate did partner with some big streamers to show off the Battle Royale thing. Fair enough, but crapping on Call of Duty Warzone, not the best move, especially when Warzone is at its best right now. Let's see. Oh, this was actually masterfully done, and I'll give Jeff Keighley some credit. About half an hour before the end of the showcase, Jeff Keighley had someone from Capcom appear on screen with a video saying, look, let them cook the next Resident Evil game. When it's ready, it's ready. Fair enough, right? But that was just, them playing games with us, right? The end of the show with Resident Evil Requiem, which is Resident Evil 9. I love the fact they announced the game that way because it didn't leak.
It was great.
It was genuinely great. I think that is a good way to do an announcement like that. And Capcom clearly cooked the hell out of this game. It looks phenomenal. We're returning to Raccoon City, clearly after a nuke's gone off. Apparently, you are going to be able to play it as Leon, as well as this new character, Ashley. And it's launching in February. Like, biggest surprise of the night from Summer Games Fest. The fact they kept that secret, well done. I hope we see more like that in the future. But yeah, it's coming out in February. It looks great. Logan, what do you think? Because again, that's a lot of game in such a small time. Okay, I think Logan's muted himself.
Okay, hold on a sec.
Right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm super excited for it. I can't believe it's coming that soon. But it makes sense with, the anniversary next year
Yeah,
that they'd have the next mainline game come out. The trailer looks awesome. Looks, Alan Wake, True Detective, Twin Peaks, mixed with Resident Evil vibes, like detective investigative thriller, but oh my gosh, you're running from nuked T virus zombies in downtown Raccoon City. I even love like the 90s vibe of like the logo and the trailer. Like at first, like I thought almost it was like a You remember that horror series, like the found footage series, like Record
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
like VHS and stuff like. At first, I thought it was a game based off that, and I was like, dude, that's sick. But then like it's like Requiem. I'm like, okay, good. But yeah, it looks super cool, and I can't wait for it.
yeah. You know, I will say this though, like I'm looking forward to seeing what this game's like. I still want Resident Evil Zero to be remade.
Yes, I do too. I want the train and the monkeys. Bring them back.
Yeah, like I know there's like 12 of us that played that game, but my God, Resident Evil Zero is such a good game. Just the way that opens up, it doesn't make any sense. You have a dude that can basically control these like zombified insect things. It's out there, but hey, hopefully they listen to feedback, and who knows, maybe that's coming as well. I will say this for the millionth time: bloody Dino Crisis. Why can we not get a Dino Crisis game with this quality? It blows my mind, right? If anything,
It's insane.
if I was Capcom, I would have okay. We're clearly gonna release a new Resident Evil game every other year. So why not have a Dino Crisis game that can come out in between? Like that's easy money. I know it's more. I know it's easy said than done. Saying, "Oh, it's easy money," but no, seriously, it's just Resident Evil with dinosaurs. That's all they have to do, right? Anyway, but that's Summer Games Fest. I think they actually had a pretty good show. Not gonna lie. As much as like I don't understand why they have Jeff Keighley coming out on stage, talking to the developer, talking about each game, basically. Just show the games. State of play. Future Games Fest for the most part. And the Xbox show, it's essentially just game, 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 game. Right? We don't need everything introduced. Let's see what we've got next. Okay, now we're going to go over the Xbox Game Showcase, which there was a lot of games there shown. And I think, they showed everything off in an hour. Now, they open up the show with the Outer Worlds 2 trailer. This game looks fantastic. It really does. They've expanded on. I think we'll go over the direct next week because I still need to catch up on some of it. But opening up the show with the Outer Worlds 2 trailer, they've expanded on everything. The gameplay looks better. They've went deeper with the RPG mechanics. You can play the game in third person, so I think they listened to the feedback with Avowed because people like the third person camera in Avowed. They've clearly listened to feedback across the board. Deep RPG features. I think that's something people have been wanting more. First persons or third person Obsidian games, much like their Pillars of Eternity games, which is really cool. Let's see. Got this list here. Oh, this was one of the biggest surprises the past weekend for me. High on Life 2. I never thought this game would ever get a sequel. Because obviously you have the stuff with the voice actors behind the scenes, but they have people that do Rick and Morty now that sound identical. But Squanch Games, they make hilarious video games, and I'm so happy this exists. And it launches later this year in Game Pass, which if I could have guessed there was going to be a sequel, I wouldn't have guessed there was one this soon. That game got one expansion, and they moved on to other things. But that other thing was clearly the sequel. It looks fantastic. Logan, what do you think of High on Life 2? Because I think you played the first one, right?
Yeah, I think it's a fun, good time, and it's definitely an acquired taste for humor, but it's good gameplay, gunplay, weapons, the alien guns that talk, and then the knife and the kind of horror themed expansion, and like some Sunset Overdrive vibes and some of the story and stuff as well. So I'm looking forward to the sequel, and yeah, like you, I was surprised it was happening, and especially surprised it's coming this soon. Oh, that was a good little hidden gem hidden in the showcase.
Yeah. Next up, they showed off the trailer for Residence: A Plague Tale Legacy. This is actually a prequel to A Plague Tale Innocence, and I think if you played those two games, you know what you're getting yourself into. Third person, over the shoulder action adventure game with stealth elements. And if people haven't played those two games, please do. They are so good. Immediately they get your attention with certain things that happen. Next up, they showed off gameplay for The Blood of the Dawnwalker, which is a new game made by CD Projekt Red developers, or should I say ex-CD Projekt Red developers. If you like The Witcher 3, this is clearly for you. Like, this is clearly aimed at fans of that game. And, it's got Witcher 3 written all over it. You basically have vampire powers. You kind of like Blade, You have the powers of a vampire, but you can walk around during the day. It looks super cool, and the interesting thing about the game, it's kind of going to do the Zelda Majora's Mask thing, where there's kind of a countdown going on behind the scenes, and you have X amount of days to get something done. I don't like timers in video games, but done right, like, Majora's Mask, I think they can do it right. I'm sure it'll be good. And it's CD Projekt Red developers, basically, so I'm sure it's going to be good. That's coming out in 2026. The next game that was shown off was Super Meat Boy 3D. I'm not going to lie, I was so excited when I saw this because
I thought it was Mario.
yeah, I was thinking, why is there a green pipe there? And Super Meat Boy back in, when that come out? It was Xbox Live, one of the early Xbox Live arcade games.
360
Yeah.
early.
And, it was featured in Indie Game the Movie. And that game kicked my behind in 2 dimensions, and now it gets to do that in 3 dimensions. Beautiful. And it's still going to do that thing where, it would show you your previous runs. It's going to do that, but in 3D. So it's going to be even more difficult now because you're going to have to try and track which character you're actually moving, which I think's really cool. But yeah, Super Meat Boy in 3D, never thought that would be a thing. It looks so good. That's also launching day 1 in Game Pass in 2026. Next up, they showed off a new trailer for Ninja Gaiden 4. This is Platinum Games doing the thing they do. It looks over the top. It's action-packed. And you're also going to play as this new character for a bunch of the game. That's launching in October as well. Also day 1 in Game Pass Ultimate. We got a brand new trailer, or the reveal trailer, for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle's first expansion, which is launching this September. I've said it time and time again. Indiana Jones was my game of the year last year, and it's one of the few games I've ever given a 10 out of 10. I'll be there day 1. It looks fantastic. And if Troy Baker has the same performance like he did in the main game, it's going to be an excellent expansion. Next up, they showed off Beast of Reincarnation. This is made by Game Freak. This is what Game Freak can do when they don't have to pop out a Pokemon game in 18 months. I've seen the comparisons on Twitter, which is pretty funny. But like Game Freak, they are really talented. I honestly didn't think we could see this like visual fidelity from Game Freak. I was super impressed. Like, Logan, what do you take from that? Because again, the Pokemon developers.
Yeah, when I saw Game Freak, I'm like, man, there's a theme to this show. They're just trolling Nintendo at this point. But then, yeah, it looked incredible, and I love the story and the vibes. Like, I don't remember if you ever played it, but Last Guardian and like Eco and Shadow of the Colossus, like it had some of those vibes to it, like the story and the giant beast companion and like the restoring nature and balance and just kind of this like monolithic quest. Just overall the vibes, I'm there day 1. This one looks really, really good.
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, if Nintendo took anything from that, like the reaction from that game, I think they really shouldn't. They should let that studio cook more with the Pokemon games, right? Like their Pokemon games are made in like 18 months. Yes, they sell like 40 million copies, but I think take an extra year and a half, and just make a really intricate Pokemon game. Doesn't even have to be photorealistic. Just perform better, not look like it came out 20 years ago. But yeah, it looked so good. Yeah, I see Joe in chat mentioned Princess Mononoke vibes. Yeah, like such a
definitely.
Cool,
I see that.
Yeah, such a cool take for the game. But yeah, I'm gonna be all over that. I mean, Beast of Reincarnation is definitely gonna be one for people to keep their eyes on. Next up, they showed off, and this was personally my game of show. Clockwork Revolution. This is a first-person RPG made by In Exile. This is In Exile when they don't have what, or should I say, when In Exile actually have a budget, because in the past they've had to scrape together money, do crowdfunding to get their games made. This is literally their biggest game to date, and it shows. The first-person shooter combat looks amazing. The detail in the world looks phenomenal. The combat and base gameplay look really good. It's the biggest and most intricate game world they've ever came up with. It looks amazing. It's a deep RPG with customization, has a full character customization tool. This is going to be the best In Exile game. It didn't get a release date, but I don't really care. If this is their game that they're making with unlimited funds, basically compared to their past games, take all the time they need. Logan, what do you think? Because I know you like these types of games as well.
Yeah, this looks fantastic. I can't wait for it. Like the idea that you can go to the past to change the future, or go to the future and cause certain other things, and you can so much interactivity where you could be just a total awful human being, or a white knight type, and just the characters, the writing, the humor, the gameplay, the customization of the characters, the guns. My goodness, man! Like those steampunk guns are sick. Like the customization you can do on those, with different stocks and different levers and all the stuff and the abilities. It in the best ways. It reminds me of Bioshock Infinite mixed with Arcanum, and also Wasteland 3 writing, where it's super messed up in parts but also really funny and good in other parts. So I can't wait for that. Let them cook. They clearly have done wonders with their budget, going from scraping by with 10 dudes basically in a garage
Yeah.
to make their other games. It wasn't that bad, but you know what I'm saying. Going from that to this, a AAA fully funded studio with revered writers and creators that created some of the best RPG franchises in the world. Yeah, this is day one. Very, very excited for this one.
Yeah, I mean, just to show what people are missing out when it comes to In Exile and them not having much money. Uh, so In Exile came out, I want to say about 10 years ago, with a new RPG called Torment: Tides of Numenera, and it's in Game Pass if people want to try it out. And it's a sci-fi RPG set 1 billion years in the future, right? It's such an interesting game, but the combat system is a bit complicated, and it's a super hardcore RPG where your smallest
Hmm.
choices will change the world in the biggest ways. Literally set 1 billion years in the future where humanity doesn't even look the same anymore, and you can tell it was held back by its budget. And the fact that we're going to be getting them making a game this big, it's exciting. Um, yeah, they also did Wasteland, the Wasteland games. But again, those games were also held back by the budget. Thankfully with the third game, Microsoft was able to pump more money into the third game. That's why, it had things like the vehicle hub and all that stuff. Um, anyway, we'll move on. Let's see. Oh yeah, Grounded 2 announced out of nowhere. This is Obsidian's next game. They're dropping 3 games in 1 year. How they do it is beyond me, and how they kept it secret is beyond me. Microsoft showcases tend to leak every year. Thankfully, this year, much like last year, nothing leaks. Not really. But yeah, Grounded 2, it looks bigger and better than ever. You're going to be able to actually ride bugs as mounts, which is what people wanted in the first game. It looks like it's going to have a more intricate story this time. It looks super cool, and that's coming out in July. Like, quick turnaround for a video game. Let's see. Next up, they showed off a brand new trailer for Chronos: The New Dawn. This is a brand new third-person, over-the-shoulder sci-fi horror game made by Bloober Team. That's a mouthful. It looks super cool. EA isn't going to bring us Dead Space. I might cry myself to sleep at night thinking about that, but we aren't going to see another Dead Space by EA. This is the closest thing, and it looks freaking phenomenal. Logan, I know you like Dead Space as well, so I'm guessing you're going to be over this as well.
Yeah, I'm so stoked for this. I've been following this for a while, and I really like Bloober Team. Like even back to their origins, where they were kind of doing some licensed IP that were kind of lower budget, but like you could tell their heart was in the right place, and like they understood the lore and the worlds they were working with, and made really cool stuff. To like now, like they're making their own new IP, and it definitely is heavily inspired by Dead Space with the suit with the rig and everything, and like the creepy alien ish monsters you have to fight. Like I'm day one. Like sign me up.
Yeah, that looks good. Next up, they showed off a new trailer for the new expansion of Elder Scrolls Online. Let me tell you, Elder Scrolls Online, if you like Skyrim, it's basically Skyrim 2. You can play the majority of the content single player, and it literally plays like Skyrim. It just looks better. They aren't stopping with that game. If I remember correctly, they have about 20 million players in that MMO. It's a huge MMO. And it doesn't require a subscription. You buy the game once, and that's that. You buy the expansions. But yeah, that looks super cool. There's a new game being shown off called Aphelion. For people that don't know, this is a new game made by Don't Nod, who are actually working with the European Space Agency. So they want to make a very authentic sci-fi experience, which is really cool. That's a third-person over-the-shoulder action-adventure game. I'm already sold. What can I say? I'm just nuts for sci-fi, let's be honest. Let's see. Oh, next up, they showed off a game called There Are No Ghosts at the Grand. Looks like a very, mysterious type of game. This next game I've been talking about on Twitter for about 6 months now, and it was called Project TH, but now it's called Mudang Two Hearts. And it's a third-person shooter that also has stealth elements. Every time I've posted about it, people are saying, is this Splinter Cell? Basically, if you like Splinter Cell, you're going to like this. And the cool thing about the story, from what I've gathered, you play as a K-pop superstar that turns into a secret agent. Like, it looks so good. I've been thirsty for Splinter Cell style games for, let's be honest, years at this point, and this looks great. It's made by a newer Korean developer. It comes out next year. Yes, it's coming to Xbox. I've always been asked this when I post about the project footage, but yep, coming to Xbox. It looks fantastic. Logan, what was your take? Because it does look very good.
It looks sick. Like I'm super stoked for this one. Like the idea, like I think there might be two playable characters. Maybe
Yeah,
I misread
yeah,
that or misinterpreted. But it where there's the K-pop star and then like the other operative. But it's so cool, and like I love the idea of it, and it looks like you said, Splinter Cell, but with a different twist. It's another highlight of the growing Korean gaming space
oh yeah,
where they have become a major player in modern gaming, them in China in particular. Like them, China, and Poland are like three areas, like if you're not as familiar, like those are some hubs to pay attention to for the next 2 decades for gaming. Like a ton of talent and a ton of games are going to be coming from those three regions. And this just like checks all the boxes. The idea of basically like a quote unquote Taylor Swift type being converted into Sydney Bristow from Alias is just a really fun idea, and I love it so much. And then combining that with, like a Sam Fisher as her mentor, like handler, and he does his own thing. It's just I don't know. I love how crazy it is, and I'm looking forward to this one 100%.
yeah. So I'll read the quick description, and it's so cool. A K-pop star steps into the spotlight as a soldier strikes from the shadows. You play as two different characters where you switch between two different protagonists. One's going to be like the trainer, and one's going to be the K-pop star. So like that's such a cool idea for a third-person shooter stealth game. Uh, I'm all over that. That looks so good. And like you said, Korea, like there's so many big and cool new games coming from Korea. Like Microsoft, I know they have teams over there, like looking at different games. Like sign as many on board as possible because we need more games like this. Let's see. Oh, next up, they showed off a trailer for Planet of Lana 2. This came out about 2 years ago. Planet of Lana. I really enjoyed it. It's a super chill experience. It's kind of like Limbo, but without all the death. um,
Whee!
yeah, you're right. There was a lot of death in it, but like it was not as bleak, I shall say, as Limbo, and it's a super cool game. Never thought I would actually get a sequel, and that's coming out in 2026. Fallout 76 is getting a brand new expansion called Gun Fishing. Looks super cool. I mean, that game's came a long way. You know, I went from having like basically no quests to like having full voiced NPCs where it's more like a single player Bethesda game. So they listen to feedback. Next up, the anime solo leveling is getting a JRPG, which also plays in 4-player co-op. I want to see what this is like in action. The base gameplay they showed so far looks really cool. Next up, they showed off Tony Hawk 3-4 Remake, the Foundry demo trailer. So if people don't know, if you go on the store right now, you can play the demo for the Foundry in Tony Hawk right now. I think it's like 15 gigabytes for the demo. I played it before. It's actually really, really fun. If I remember correctly, the controls are a lot easier now. But yeah, highly recommend people try it out. And it's gorgeous. Like, Tony Hawk looks really good now. When you play the originals, they dated games graphically. Like, really bad. But now they look really good. Let's see what we've got next. Fate End, if I remember correctly, this is a puzzle action game. Then we saw Gears of War Reloaded in action. Now, I want to talk about this briefly because I've seen a lot of people confused about what this game is. I've seen some people refer to it as a new remake. I've seen some people refer to it as a new remaster. Gears of War, the first game from 2006, was remade in 2015. Right? Brand new graphics, slightly refined gameplay, but it had the PC expansion included. So, like, in 2015, we got a remake called Ultimate Edition. Gears of War Reloaded is literally what we got in 2015, but it's 4K, it's 60, it's got the PC textures, it's got HDR now, and all that stuff. So it's a remaster of a remake. I need to clarify that because I've heard like 10 different people describe this game different ways. It's a remaster of a game we've already had. But I will happily play through this again in 4K 60. It also does 120 if you have the correct display, which is really cool. I mean, it's Gears of War. You can't really go wrong with it. And I played through the original last year, and it's 1080p 30. I should say the remake last year. And it still plays good. It still looks great, but this new one, 4K 60, basically what we were showing off at the Xbox Series X launch is test footage. I think people are going to enjoy this. And also, if you have the digital version of Ultimate Edition, you get this for free. Otherwise, I think it's like $39.99, which isn't that bad. Next up, they showed, let's see. Oh, Persona 4 Revival. Now, I did predict this was going to be shown off there, but I think a lot of people could have guessed that was going to happen. Atlas Games, Sega, and Microsoft, they have a really good relationship now. A bunch of Persona games have been shown off at the Xbox stage. I'm so happy to see this in action, and even though we got about 10 seconds of footage, it looks like the fourth game, but new. And I love that. It's keeping the same aesthetic. It looks amazing. I think that if people haven't played 4, I highly recommend it. In my opinion, 4 is the best Persona game. It's such a cool game. Logan, did you get to play Persona 4 Golden?
You know, the funny story is I haven't played Golden yet. I had it on PSP or Vita, but I didn't play it. And then, they announced those ports a few years ago, which was a huge deal of the 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
And then they remade or remastered 3, and then there was rumors about 4, so I kind of just held off getting 3 and 4 until the remakes were out because I'm like, why spend it twice if they're not going to give you an upgrade? So now that this is out, I'm going to get it and I will play it. And then also, there's Persona 5 Royale, and then there's the tactics games. Like Persona on Xbox is good times right now.
Yeah. And the fourth game has such a nice vibe. That's the best way I can describe it. The fourth game, like the fifth game, well, basically all Persona games have some very adult themes, like some serious
Mhm.
themes. But the fourth one, like it has just such a very light-hearted vibe alongside the serious storyline. I won't spoil it for people, but like the storyline doesn't match the setting. um, but I think that's kind of why it works. But yeah, it didn't get a release date or release window, so who knows what's going to happen? Persona, they knock it out of the park every single time. I'm just going to go out on the limb and say it launches early next year. And apparently, we are going to see Persona 6 at some point. And I expect that'll be on like the Xbox stage maybe next year. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's see what we've got next. Okay, Keeper. Now, I missed this game because of certain things, but this is a new game by Double Fine. You play as a sentient lighthouse. That is basically Double Fine in a nutshell. Like something completely out there. It doesn't make sense, but it'll work. But yeah, it looks super cool. That's launching in October, so that's another first party game. They ended the show with Call of Duty Black Ops 7, a campaign trailer, or I should say a campaign teaser. Now, myself, and I'm guessing everyone else on the internet thought that was a completely different IP. Right? Uh, I'm actually surprised they ended the show with a Call of Duty game. But with that being said, I love Call of Duty campaigns. I love them. So you're getting a sci-fi story. It looks like it's following the events of Black Ops 2, which would go along with the rumors. Um, Logan, I think you might be in the same boat as everyone else. Like ending with Call of Duty did surprise people.
Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted on that, to be honest. Like,
Yeah,
I I love Call of Duty. Call of Duty's awesome, especially Black Ops. Like, I really enjoy the stories. Yeah, I'm one of those weirdos who like plays them for the campaigns. I know there's dozens of us, but um I love, especially the Black Ops stories. They're really, really good,
yeah,
and so I'm thrilled that they're going back to have an actual sequel to two. Like, if you ever want like a mind trip of a rabbit hole to go down, like try to follow all the Black Ops storylines and connect which one is actually before or after the other one and all that. And so it looks awesome. I'm looking forward to it. To me personally, I wouldn't close a showcase with Call of Duty.
yeah,
Like I would have it as like in the middle somewhere, but not because it's not that good. It's just that it's become like, as Jez or some others have said, like a ritual, like a expected, like we know we're gonna have a Call of Duty every year or every other year at most. And like, yes, it is technically a new reveal and surprise, but it just, the one more thing to me should be saved for like a Fable, a Gears E Day, a like a like a mind blowing reveal of a new IP or a franchise being resurrected, or like a sequel to something that's been gone a while, like something like that. Not a um we just had Black Ops 6 last year and now here's Black Ops 7 already. Here you go. Like, to me, you don't close with that.
yeah,
And honestly, I thought this was Titanfall 3 for like 30 seconds when I first saw the trailer, cuz like the robots and like the sci-fi vibe and all that. I was thinking this was a different game. So, it looks cool. I'm looking forward to it, but just some feedback, don't close with Call of Duty. Have it like, if you want to open with it, cool. If you want it in the middle, cool. But don't have that be your one more thing. The Call of Duty you already know is coming this year. Just don't do that.
yeah. When that trailer first started, I actually thought it was a Remedy game. There's something about that vibe that
Oh yeah, it did have some Quantum Break
yeah,
vibes a little bit. Yeah.
yeah. But outside of that, I look, I'm gonna play it. Right, if they put wall running in Warzone, I'm gonna cry myself to sleep at night. But all in all, if it's a fun campaign, I'm there for it. Now, I did miss 2 games off because I want to save those till last. Final Fantasy VII has been in my titles for podcasts for about 6 months now. Maybe more than 6 months. I like you should see all the pictures of like Cloud and Tifa I have in thumbnails. Right? It's like, okay, which picture of Cloud am I using this week? Oh, am I using Tifa this week? We for the past 2.5 years we've been going back and forth saying what's the likelihood of Final Fantasy VII remake coming to Xbox? 2.5 years ago it was a snowball's chance in hell. Then it was kind of likely maybe at some point when the trilogy's done. Like that was the thing a lot of us thought. When the trilogy's done, we'll get those games. So like 2028, 2029. My God, those years sound way too futuristic. And we've had rumors for the past year that they're coming soon. They're coming soon. I saw some listings and I was like, it's coming soon. And then nothing would happen. We'd have a showcase, nothing would happen. Jeff Keighley would host his Jeff Keighley Game Awards starring Jeff Keighley, and there'd be no Final Fantasy there for Xbox. And Square Enix has said time and time again over the past 2 years that Xbox is part of their multi-platform strategy going forward, and we have seen diddly squat. And for people that watched my reaction live, I think I almost blew out a vocal cord when that Final Fantasy font came up and it said, it's finally here, Square Enix, and then it showed Midgar. I lost my marbles, right? I think people down the street heard me, right? So bear in mind, for the microphone I use, I have it set up so you can really only hear sound within a 1 foot in front of the microphone, so you don't really get back end noise. I was about 5 feet away from my microphone, and people could still hear me. I was swearing. I try not to swear on the channel. I lost my mind. And yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake finally announced for Xbox, and it's coming later this year. I'm assuming alongside the Switch 2 version. And man, I was so happy. Like before we get into 16, Logan, like what do you think? Because we've been talking about this for literal years at this point, and it happened.
Yeah. My first thought was I felt like Jon Snow, like my watch has ended. I am free. I may leave now. Like it's finally the long wait is over. The national nightmare has ended. Everyone can leave their homes and go out and see loved ones again. Like it's like peace on earth. It's finally happened, and I'm very glad it's finally here. We knew it was going to happen eventually. It started like you said, where we both were like, "This game has an Ice Cube's chance of happening on Xbox because of, frankly, how Sony rolls. It's love them, hate them. It's how they do things." So, but thankfully, Square Enix learned their lesson that they had this crazy, crazy revelation that if you put a game on more platforms, it sells more. I know it's shocking, but apparently that is true. And they got tired of the failing to meet their own Clown Town expectations, which were always skyrocket high. So the fact that it's finally here is euphoric, great news. Can't wait to play it this winter. And Final Fantasy 16 coming as well. And being a shadow drop is fantastic news. I am just over the moon. I'm very, very happy.
Yeah, and the after they showed the Final Fantasy VII remake trailer, they showed off a trailer for Final Fantasy 16, and I called it the shadow drop was going to happen, but I think the shadow drop was kind of obvious. They're launching 3 Final Fantasy games on Xbox this year. They had to get 16 out first. They just had to. But yeah, and by the way, the price of it, excuse me, I think was fair. I thought Square Enix was going to charge a full-on $70 for it. It's $49.99. I don't know
Hmm.
how much it is in dollars, but in pounds, it's £70 if you want it with the expansions. Um,
It's
what?
about that in US. It's like 60,
Yeah,
70. Yeah.
but that's a lot of content there, and for people that don't know, you can get the game by itself and then get the expansion pass later on, and it works out the same price. So whether you like the game or not, and the other cool thing is there's also a demo. Didn't expect them to do that, but yeah, there's a demo of the game. So if you want to try out 16, maybe you don't like action games, maybe you do. Try it out. Why not? But yeah, that was such a good shadow drop. And I will say this: I finally got to play it. I'll have to say thank you to Square Enix for providing the review copy. After everything myself and Square Enix has been through online, I was actually surprised. But like,
I'm surprised they answered your calls, man.
yeah, I was surprised, but yeah, they gave me a review copy, and I've had this soft spot for Square Enix games since I was a kid. We've talked about this before. Like Final Fantasy VII, I played as a little kid. I didn't understand what was going on in that world. You know, I didn't understand what was going on until I became an adult, and I replayed it recently. But like their games as a kid brought me so much joy. So like that's why it's been so annoying over the past few years that their games weren't on Xbox. And let me tell you, Final Fantasy 16. What are my initial impressions of it? Damn good. It is so good. Oh my god! And for a little behind the scenes thing for people, if there's a game I'm remotely interested in that I want to play on my preferred platform of choice, do you know I completely ignore all media regarding that game? So when it came to things like Ghostwire Tokyo, even though it was on like 10 different PlayStation State of Plays, I didn't watch a second of it because I thought I'll just play it on Xbox whenever I get the chance. I've done the same with Final Fantasy 16. I've seen one trailer for it. I thought the main character Clive looks cool. The voice actor for Clive is really cool. I'm sold. Right? After playing it for several hours, it's basically Game of Thrones Final Fantasy. And
That sounds badass.
it is like it's such a the best way I can describe it, it's such an adult version of Final Fantasy. Like there's swearing in the dialogue where you have had some swearing in previous games, but like there's certain scenes I won't show on YouTube, but like it's very adult centric. And I haven't really been at like 16, or I should say 15 had some adult centric vibes, especially what happened with the final act and stuff. Like, but this game, it's very much aimed at adults. Um, I'm loving it. The combat system. Let's get this out the way quick. It's an action-based system, and it's simple yet brilliant. So you basically attack enemies with X, and magic is Y. That's the basic controls of the game. However, there's also a parrying system, but you parry with the same button as you attack. So if you press the attack button as an enemy's attacking you, you will parry them. I don't know why more games don't do this. So if you're terrible at
That
parrying in
seems
video
helpful.
games, sorry, what was that, Logan?
I was saying that seems helpful.
Yeah,
Like a good idea.
yeah, super helpful. So if you're terrible at parrying, like I am, uh, if you're attacking the enemy anyway and you just happen to time it right, you get a parry and you don't get hit. Like I've been playing games my whole life. I don't know why any other game doesn't do that. It's such a simple move. You keep it on the same button where your hands are anywhere. Um, there is a dodge mechanic which is super useful. You get a bonus for dodging an enemy in time, and if you dodge last second, time can slow down. There's also a bunch of items you get from the beginning of the game. So if you want the game to be kind of easier, you can do that without impeding the experience. So when you start the game up, there's two different modes. There's story and there's action. Now, as far as I can tell, you have the same amount of health per difficulty, but it changes how you basically play the game. So if you want a story-only experience where you can do combos with one button, you can do that. But if you play it on action mode, you can wear these necklaces that basically give you different buffs. So if you want enemies to slow down when you dodge them more, you can do that. You can wear a different necklace for auto healing when your health is low. Like, so if you're new to the genre and maybe just want a little bit of a helping hand, you're gonna be in for this. The story is super interesting. The visuals are a spectacle. Like, out of the gate, you're showing Titans fighting Titans, right? Basically summons in this game. It's a spectacle. It really is. And for people that don't know, my track record with Final Fantasy is I played 7 when I was a little kid. I didn't understand it till I was an adult. 10 was my favorite Final Fantasy game. Loved 10 on the PlayStation 2. And then I basically went from Final Fantasy 10 to 13 on the Xbox 360. Loved 13. I loved 15. I'm one of those dudes. I like FF13 and 15. And Crisis Core, I think, is a 9 out of 10 experience. 16 is incredible. Obviously, this isn't a full review because I've only gotten to play it for several hours. But like, if people are new to Final Fantasy, I think they're gonna love this game. For people that are maybe on the fence, the combat system is super easy to learn. It even has like a bunch of quality of life improvements, which I hope we see in more JRPGs. So you can save the game at any time, right? So you don't have to find save points. None of that stuff. You don't have limited saves. There's also a glossary for lore, which I think a bunch of games have now, but it's a good thing to see in games. So if the game kind of throws you into the deep end when it comes to the story, but if you check the glossary quick, you'll understand within seconds, basically. Let's see what else. The menus are super easy.
Avowed did a good job of that.
Yeah, Avowed did that, and you could even do that during dialogue in Avowed, which is really cool. Being able to pause cutscenes seems like such a trivial thing, but I love the fact that you can do it. And again, it's a very adult, it's a violent JRPG. And like I said, I've avoided saying basically anything regarding this game for 2 years. Outside of the GIFs I post on Twitter, literally, I'll skim through a trailer, find a cool scene, crop it, make it into a GIF, post it on social media. That's it, right? So, like, that's my exposure to this game. So I'm pleasantly surprised by this game so far. So it's incredible. It really is. And, there's going to be people that clip this or, like, take screenshots of my tweets to say, oh, now he likes this game. I've never said a bad thing about this game ever. Square Enix and Creative Studio 3, bit of an odd name for a studio, bloody knocked it out of the park. The performance for me has been solid. I've went back and forth between, quality and performance mode. It's been fine on both. I'm actually sticking to quality mode because it looks so good. What can I say? Logan, do you have any questions about Final Fantasy 16?
Yeah. So how have the Sorry, my voice cracked. How have this summons been? Like, is it like you remember in the old ones, like you'd have to build up a certain reel or mana thing to a certain point to where you could summon Bahamut or stuff like that. So how does that work in this one?
So even though I'm like several hours in, I'm trying not to spoil this, but like, so how in Final Fantasy X, how you would basically summon a summon as an extra character.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that in a way, where you'd hit a certain point in battle and the summon will happen. And the summon, which, as far as I can tell in this game, they're called Titans, they're basically control as different characters. So like, I'm trying not to spoil it. Basically the game starts how that plays out, right?
Okay.
So when you've seen cutscenes of the game of like Ifrit or Phoenix and that stuff, that's what the summons are like in the game. It's a cinematic spectacle, and if anything, this JRPG has a very Western vibe to it, which
Sounds awesome.
I didn't expect. Like, this is a very good game, and what surprised me even more is that a lot of this studio helped make the MMO Final Fantasy 14. So you wouldn't think you'd get an action game like this from an MMO developer. But yeah, they've knocked it out of the park. Like before I got the review code, I was already going to buy the game. And And I was thinking, maybe I'll get the $49.99 version and then get the expansions if I like it. Like even hours in, I know I'm gonna be like 100% in this game. It's incredible. And when you get my attention off the bat, off a what an action based combat system, man, it's good. And I think that the adult story is really going to get people's attention. So, like, if people are on the fence with JRPGs because maybe they don't like the storylines or the expedition those games do, because JRPGs tend to have a lot of exposition, this doesn't really have that. It's very Western centric JRPG. That's the best way I can put it. So think how Expedition 33 is a French JRPG. This is basically a Japanese Western game. That's literally the best way I can describe it. But yeah, hell of a game. And you have Final Fantasy VII coming later this year, which is also action based combat. Like we are eating really good right now for JRPGs. I'm so happy. It's so good, and yeah, I mean, obviously, I'll play more over the week and talk about it more next week. And hell, if I get it done in the next week or so, I'll make a full video review on it because I'm legitimately impressed by it. There's on rails segments. There's quick time events, and they aren't really invasive quick time events. There's cinematic moments that happen during boss battles where you basically hit a quick time event for either attack or block, and a fancy move happens. But that's all I'll say for now because I don't want to spoil it for people. But hell of a game. It is 115 gigabytes. Like,
Good
so
gosh.
yeah, so make sure that you have some space clear. Because I was shocked to see the size of it, but considering how much details in the game, and the prologue alone will blow people's minds. Story, action, all of it. And you know what? That's the Final Fantasy stuff. It's good that we finally have these games over. We'll quickly talk about the ROG, Xbox Ally, and Ally X. Logan, I never publicly posted this. I sent you a picture of this Xbox handheld about 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I remember, and you were pretty accurate.
Yep. And it was spot on. And look, this is a PC handheld. It's aimed at the PC users, and even if you're not a PC user and you play a lot of first-party content, most games going forward, at least on Xbox's side, they wanting to aim to have everything using Xbox Play Anywhere. The Xbox Play Anywhere initiative started in, I want to say 2016, when they start doing more PC games. I think that's the right way to go. They're testing the market out because, Jez Corden has said that the console handheld, the first party console handheld, has been put in the back burner. My theory is that they want to see how this does, even when it comes to the things like the form factor, because these are bigger handhelds. It's not like a Switch where it's basically a tablet with controllers on the side. Like the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, the Ally X with the Z2 chip, they are pretty big devices, and they're expensive devices as well. So whereas a Switch costs $450 or $400, this is going to be $800. You're getting an extremely premium portable PC experience. You're going to have access to your Steam store, your Epic store, GOG, all that stuff. I see what Microsoft's doing. They have the Xbox PC branding because they need Xbox to be associated with PC stuff. I think that the teaser trailer for the handheld was actually really well done. It was kind of out there. It was kind of it very much reminded me of an early 2000s PlayStation trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Very weird. But all in all, my takeaway from the handheld is this is them dipping their toes in that space, and it's going to be exciting to see where they go from here because they could come out with anything at this point. But I think Xbox did a great show. Now, when I did the live stream reaction, I gave them an 8.5. I'm actually upping it to a 9 just because of how giddy I am over all of the Final Fantasy stuff. Logan, what was your final score of the Xbox showcase? And also, what do you think about the Xbox PC handheld?
Yeah, I'm kind of not sure what I'd give the score. I would be kind of in the 8 range probably.
Yeah.
8ish. Because there was good things, and like for the most part everything there is something I would play or enjoy. There were a few things that weren't for me, but that's all cool. Like personally, it always annoys me a little bit when there's Fallout 76 and Sea of Thieves and Elder Scrolls Online. Like I get why they're there. They're mega audience, mega player counts, their updates. They want to keep it going, but it feels like that's some minutes you could set aside for a one more thing or something else thrown in there. But again, I'm not in charge of that, so that's always kind of just a one minor nitpick I always have for him. But in general, great show, great form. I really enjoyed it. Definitely the best show for this summer, along with Keeley's, which was better than it normally is for Summer Games Fest. And yeah, as far as the handheld, I I'm more excited about it now than I was before because it used to be play anywhere was kind of just this fun novel thing
Yeah.
that it felt like a few titles every one in a blue moon would be play anywhere and you'd go, oh, okay, that's cool, but I don't play on PC, so what does that mean to me? That doesn't matter to me. It's like whatever. But now the idea of like this handheld basically being a PC but also an Xbox and being able to do the play all the games that are play anywhere. So and you can play them natively, which is a big key to this, is like you can play these natively if you want to. So the idea of having that to where they're now basically making by default most of their stuff going forward play anywhere. They're trying to get all their partners lined up to do that, to where you're going to have a pretty extensive library day one with this thing. It's not going to be like a curated 50 games or whatever. It's going to be pretty substantial. So that definitely increased my hype levels. To me, I would still rather have a pure Xbox handheld that lets you play all the stuff you already own and like Xbox related stuff in particular. But for the meantime, with that being delayed and this being a viable option, and the fact that I like cloud devices anyway, and this is a step up from that, I have a lot of interest in it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm more excited than I was before. To me, it comes all down to price because if this sucker is like really expensive, then I might wait a while. But if they somehow knock it out of the park and make it pretty affordable or within the realm of like a typical price for this, then I have serious interest in it this holiday.
Yeah. We'll find out more soon about it, but I do think the price range will be 6 to 800, depending on which version. Because the ROG Ally as it is in the UK, like, it costs a lot. It's like £799. That's like $1,100. We do tend to get screwed on pricing a lot, so I don't think it'll be the same in the US. But yeah, I mean, I do plan on making videos about this thing shortly because again, it's going to be an interesting device, and if a possible look at future Xbox hardware in one aspect. Now, like you said, the whole Sea of Thieves thing and Fallout 76. I think you're right. I think they do need to put, expansions, or not even expansions, just, updates for existing games for the most part. Maybe put them on, like, an extended showcase thing like they've done in the past, where they've had the showcase one day and then the next day they've had, like, the extended version where they've had, like, Paris Lily presenting in the past, where they'll go over, certain aspects of, like, Flight Simulator, or, a certain Minecraft game getting an update. I think Sea of Thieves, Fallout 76, those types of things should get updates the following day. They don't need to be in the main showcase. Like, I get Indiana Jones expansion being there, or like a Starfield expansion, because those are like the big games where they need more attention on them. We don't need to see Sea of Thieves at every showcase.
Season 17. Like they've been doing this thing a long time.
Like, exactly. Like, I don't think we need that now. Like, I know Ubisoft does this. Like, every time they do a showcase, they give us an update on Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm just sitting there rolling my eyes, thinking, "Let it end, please." But all in all, great showcase. I mean, trying to stack it up to last year's show, which was a 10, like pretty hard, difficult task to do, and the Xbox hardware. I get some people being disappointed by that not being a console handheld. The way I see it, baby steps. One thing at a time. If anything, Microsoft being cautious, and I think I'd rather have Microsoft be cautious about something like this. Partnering up with the PC stuff first, because look, first party hardware is probably going to be cheaper. It's probably going to be sleeker. And my theory is that I think Microsoft, for their first party thing, I think they want the hardware to be smaller. Right? The ROG Ally, it's big. The Steam Deck, it's big. Right? But the Switch, it's essentially a tablet. I think maybe they want to get the form factor down a bit, maybe wait an extra year, and I think it'll be worth it. Now, we've been going for, 2 hours, 20 minutes, a bit longer than usual. We will be going over the other showcase stuff next week, because we missed the PC stuff and the Humble stuff. I'll watch those over the weekend, and we'll talk about them next week. But it's been a great show. It's been great talking to you, Logan, once again. Everyone in chat has been great. No arguing. It's always chill over here. That's why I always like to say it's the best chat on the internet, because, again, it's super chill. Now, the link to my previous video is in the description down below. 10 biggest games coming out in June to Xbox. There's actually 13 games in that list, and if I remember correctly, 11 of those games are yet to release. Some really cool stuff coming out this month. We're only getting started. The rest of this year is absolutely packed for video games. I have more videos coming out shortly. It's going to be a good time. If you like supporting the channel, super chats are appreciated, but also subscribing. It's free. And, the subscription numbers going up does help with the algorithm. I hate doing these little ads, but I've been doing this for a long time. It's appreciated. Anyway, we're back for, the same time next week? Yep, next week. I'm all over the place today. I've been talking non-stop for days. Podcasts, recording, doing that live stream the other day where I was talking for 3 hours straight. My vocal cords are straightened. Anyway, we're back the same time next week on Tuesday for a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast. I hope everyone has a good day. We're out, everybody. Peace. And we're done.